Hello everyone. Today we're going to learn how to draw an accurate depiction of a landscape picture that you would like to turn into maybe a painting or a drawing. So let's start with getting a nice picture. When you think of landscape, you want to see more of a scape and distance, perspective. That type of thing is going to make a good landscape interesting. I started this one a while back, and I have a picture of this mountain. And when you start, I like to actually take the picture. If the picture is not on a larger sheet of paper, I like to take the picture and put it on some sort of backing. Because the first thing you're going to do is break it in half. We want to break this down so we're seeing smaller parts of the picture. So I took a piece of paper and just taped it right on the back so that I could get these little halfway and quarter marks on there. The idea of breaking your paper down into halfway marks and quarter marks is so that you can see areas of space smaller. What I mean by that is if you take strips of paper and when you start drawing, you can actually put the piece of paper down across your photo on the halfway mark and see where your largest lines actually lie. So with this one, if I put my paper down and covered, I've got my halfway marks measured on this already. I can see that one part of my landscape, which is where the river meets the edge of the mountain, the land there. I can see that area is a straight line going across right under the halfway mark, and that's where I'm going to start that. If I move this all down, I can see from my halfway mark up. I can even break it down smaller. But if I was to move this down and show myself where the mountain peaks are, I can kind of take another strip and break that down even more. So I would go over here and it would be the same space. I'm following this line right here and I'm taking that down and going right up into where the halfway mark is here. So you can do this any which way as long as you're moving the papers the same on each, the photo and your paper that you're using. So if I go down on my quarter mark down below here and I want to see, like, maybe where this recession is, I will draw in this area here. So that's that. Okay? All right. So that is the basic of it. So let's try on our own sheet of paper, and we are going to use another photo. Okay, I have my picture of the landscape, and I did cut paper. And what you can do, this landscape happens to be a square. And all you have to do is times it by 2 to get a piece of paper the same size. If you have a square, all you need is a square, any size, and you can translate it. So this one, I'm using a square. I have just a square 12 by 12 that I could use, or I could just do this times 2. So if I got 6.5 by 6.5, this is a 13-inch piece of paper. 13 by 13, okay? So first thing I'm doing is I'm measuring my picture, and so I am saying 6.5 divided by 2. I'm dividing this in half. So I'm going to get 3 1/4. That's my halfway mark, and I'm going to put a mark right there. All around on all sides, 3 1/4. Okay, now I'm going to divide again in half between the end of my picture and my halfway mark. So I'm dividing 3.25 in half, and I've got 1 6/8. I'm making a mark right there and marking 1 6/8 all around because I have a square. So you're going to mark off the halfway marks and the quarter marks all the way around. Okay, I have them all marked off. Now, I want to tell you one easier way to do this is if you have a picture that you can just fold in half and get that completely halfway, you can actually fold your picture and you can get that halfway mark and the quarter marks. The one thing sometimes it does is it actually leaves a little crease in there, and I don't necessarily like that. So this is an easier way to see it, I think. Okay, so I've got my picture marked off. Now I have to mark my paper off the same exact way. And remember, if you have good even measurements, it's going to make it even easier for you. All right, now I've got 13 inches. Half of 13 inches is 6.5, and I'm going to go around and do this. And I'm going to do my quarter marks just the same as I did on my picture on my paper. And I just want to make these marks very light with my pencil. I'm going to make them a little heavier so the camera can see, although you are going to make them very light because you don't want to see these later. These are something that we're going to erase. All right, I've got my paper all marked off. And now it's time for me to start with my drawing. Your drawing needs to be light. I'm going to make this into an oil pastel painting. However, whatever paint you decide to use, that's like how you want to make sure that you are doing a light pencil drawing. You don't want to see the pencil through your paint. Now I have everything marked off. My paper is the same as my photo. I am going to look for the easiest lines to make, the longest lines that kind of cross through your whole drawing. So the horizon line is always a good line where the sky and the ground or the mountain meet. Another line that is good is maybe your ground line, if there's a ground line that kind of goes all the way across. Those are the lines that you want to do first. Then we'll get into making these lines and we'll see exactly where they go. The other thing is if there's a major color change, you're going to want to mark those in, and that's going to really help you to see what this actually looks like on here. So this I would actually mark because this area has such a good, the clouds and the colors in the sky have such a good color change that I am going to mark those off. It's just going to make it easier when I go back to paint my painting. All right, so let's start with the halfway mark here. I'm going to mark that off with my strip of paper. And you could actually put a piece of paper or a strip of paper across the top as well. Like if you wanted to just kind of mark off exactly where these things are. So I would put that across here. This one's longer, I'm going to do that. And that I can see that quarter is where my mountain range is. So it's really clear to see. Okay, now I know that I'm going to be only looking at this section of my paper. So you could even kind of go halfway. I mark sometimes halfway in between there, and I know that this mountain range is going to start down here. It's going to be a little lower, and I am going to go to about right here. Okay, and then all I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of follow. I'm going to go under this a little bit because this is the mountain range and this is the land that kind of goes under. And I'm looking where it dips. It's going to dip somewhere in this section over here. So I'm going to draw in that area. And now I could do my mountain range. So how far does this actually go, like a flat line? I'm looking at this. Okay, I do see some changes of color, some major changes in color in some of the mountains. Now I have that one section drawn in. so you can kind of see what that looks like. All right, I'm going to go and figure out some of the other large areas in here. And I'm just kind of seeing where that purple and the pink kind of separates space. All right, now let's look down at the bottom part of this. Okay, now I know where my space, where this is coming up to. So if I'm looking really at these lines as well, so if I'm looking down like that, I can actually see that this is in that section. Look at that. So you see how easy this can actually get is if you broke it down even more, you could do that, but I don't think that you really have to with a landscape. I know that this river is going to start somewhere about right there, okay? And like it kind of comes around, I've got an area of land that comes down, it's like a hill. You can see that right there. And these are kind of like valleys, so I've got a little space like that. And on the other side, okay, so I got the rest of those spaces in, and this is the basic start to a drawing that you need for a painting. It's not very much, and it needs to be light, so I kind of made mine a little bit darker just so that the camera can see. So good luck, and I'll see you next time.